For decades, the legacy of Bruce Lee has existed somewhere between myth and reality, a fusion of documented mastery and whispered stories that feel almost too extraordinary to be true. His name carries the weight of an icon, a man whose speed, philosophy, and presence have shaped generations of martial artists, filmmakers, and thinkers. And yet, beneath the foundation of fame, beneath the polished documentaries and well-rehearsed retellings, there exists an entire world of untold moments, private exchanges, personal lessons, and intimate fragment of history that reveal the man behind the legend. This video explores one such moment, not a piece of lost footage, not a grainy reel rediscovered in forgotten archive, but a reconstructed story, inspired by the quiet truths people close to Bruce often shared. The long evenings of training, the private conversations, the lessons that took place far from film sets and flashing cameras. This is a narrative built from reality, shaped with imagination, honoring not the myth, but the human being whose dedication and intensity transformed every person who crossed his path. Here, we step into the world of Bruce Lee not through a single historical event, but through a creative re-envisioning of what an intimate training session might have felt like for those lucky enough to stand across from him. This is the Bruce Lee his closest friends knew, the thinker, the teacher, the relentless perfectionist, and the man who believed that martial arts were more than kicks and punches. They were a language. They were a reflection of character. They were a pathway to self-knowledge. Throughout this story, we explore a fictionalized encounter between Bruce Lee and a dedicated student, illustrating the depth of Bruce's teaching philosophy and the way he used every moment, every strike, every correction, every pause, to transmit something meaningful. This is not a retelling of real footage, but rather an interpretation of the atmosphere, the intensity, and the transformative energy Bruce created whenever he trained with someone. The narrative unfolds through 5 detailed chapters, each expanding on an aspect of Bruce Lee's world. The environment he cultivated, the mindset he demanded, the tension between instinct and technique, the breakthroughs that only emerged under pressure, and the lessons that extended far beyond the practice of martial arts. You will see not just the physical techniques, but the internal dialogues, the frustration, the doubt, the flashes of understanding that mark the journey of any student striving toward mastery. You will witness Bruce not as a distant icon, but as a living, breathing mentor who challenged everyone to confront their limitations and rise above them. This story is ultimately an exploration of transformation, not the transformation of Bruce, whose path had already been forged through years of discipline and clarity, but the transformation of the student who stood in front of him, someone searching for precision, for understanding, for a glimpse of the mind that shaped Jeet Kune Do. If you're ready to step into a reimagined moment, a creative tribute to a man whose influence still ripples across the world, then join us on this journey. Because the essence of Bruce Lee cannot be captured by footage alone, whether real or lost. It must be felt, imagined, and experienced. Let's begin. The afternoon sun hung low over the Los Angeles hills, casting warm gold across the quiet property Bruce Lee had come to cherish. His home was modest compared to the mansions of Hollywood elites, but it carried something more valuable to him. Space to train, to think, to breathe. The backyard was a sanctuary, a blend of trim grass, sturdy wooden training dummies, scattered weights, and handmade equipment he refined constantly. This was where philosophies were shaped and breakthroughs occurred, where sweat mixed with thought, and where Bruce tested not just bodies, but minds. On this particular day, the air had that stillness that comes just before something begins. The breeze was faint, the world peaceful, as though nature itself anticipated the intensity that was about to unfold. A lone figure stood near the edge of the yard. Aaron Blake, a devoted student of Bruce Lee for several years. Not a celebrity, not a martial arts prodigy, just an ordinary man who found extraordinary purpose under Bruce's guidance. Aaron wiped his palms on his shorts, trying to calm the slight tremble in his hands. Training with Bruce wasn't like training with anyone else. Even after years of lessons, the anticipation never faded. It wasn't fear. It was the awareness that at any moment, Bruce might expose a flaw he didn't even know he had. That was his gift and his challenge. He heard footsteps approaching before he saw him. Bruce emerged from the side of the house wearing simple training clothes, black pants, a fitted t-shirt, and that unmistakable aura of alertness. It wasn't intensity exactly, more like a constant readiness, a coiled potential that never fully relaxed. When Bruce walked, he didn't simply move through space. He seemed to harmonize with it. "You're early," Bruce said with a faint smile, rolling his shoulders as if shaking off the remnants of morning chores. "I figured I'd warm up," Aaron replied. Bruce nodded approvingly. "Good, but don't overthink it. Warm-up is for the body. What I want today is for your mind to be warm, flexible, open." He stepped into the center of the lawn and motioned for Aaron to join him. A long silence settled between them, not awkward but purposeful. Bruce liked to start sessions this way, letting his students' awareness settle, letting them become present. To Bruce, presence was the foundation of every technique. You could learn 1,000 moves, but if your mind wandered, even the simplest strike would fail. "Tell me," Bruce began, "what did you learn this week?" Aaron hesitated. Bruce had a way of asking questions that felt like tests, even when he insisted they weren't. "I practiced the intercepting step," he said, trying to close distance more efficiently. Bruce's eyes sharpened. "And what did you discover? That I'm still too slow?" "No," Bruce shook his head. "The step isn't slow. Your decision is slow. The body follows the mind. If your mind hesitates, your feet will mirror that hesitation." He took a small rock from the ground, tossed it lightly, and caught it. Most people think speed comes from muscle, but the fastest action is the one decided without doubt. He flicked the rock into the air again, this time letting it fall. It hit the grass with a soft thud. If you spend your time wondering whether to catch it, you'll always be late. You must commit the moment the idea appears. Aaron nodded, absorbing the lesson but not fully understanding. Bruce noticed the uncertainty. He always noticed. "Don't worry," Bruce said. "We'll make it clear today." He gestured with 2 fingers for Aaron to take a stance. The familiar rhythm began, feet settling, hands lifting, posture aligning. Just as Aaron exhaled to prepare, Bruce stepped forward, not fast, not aggressive, but sudden enough to break Aaron's focus. "See," Bruce said, "you reset your stance, but you didn't reset your mind." He stepped back again. "Your stance should not be a preparation. It should be a continuation of your intention. When you set your feet, the mind must already know what it is prepared to do." Aaron swallowed and nodded again, this time more seriously. Bruce moved closer, adjusting Aaron's elbow gently. "Relax. Don't hold tension here," he said, pressing lightly against the joint. "Tension is the enemy of speed." He walked a slow circle around him, studying him from every angle. It reminded Aaron of how artists examine their work, searching for imperfections that only their trained eyes can see. Then Bruce stopped in front of him. "We start simple today," he said. "Show me your intercepting jab." Aaron inhaled, exhaled, and thrust the jab forward. It was clean, technically correct, perhaps even sharp by normal standards. But Bruce Lee was not normal standards. He shook his head. Again, Bruce said. Aaron repeated it. Still Bruce shook his head. "What's wrong with it?" Aaron finally asked, frustration creeping in. Bruce lifted a finger. "Wrong question." He tapped Aaron's chest. "Ask instead, what is missing?" Aaron took a breath. "Intent," he said finally. Bruce smiled. "Better." He demonstrated without warning. Aaron didn't even see the jab leave Bruce's shoulder. He only felt a faint brush of air as Bruce stopped to strike an inch from his face. "That," Bruce said, "is intent. Not aggression. Not tension. Just clarity. The body is the servant of the mind. Make the decision and the action follows." As they reset positions, Aaron felt a shift inside him, not understanding, not mastery, but awareness. And Bruce saw it immediately. "Good," Bruce said. "Now we begin." The stillness of the yard faded. The lesson had started. Bruce shifted his weight to his back leg, his hands loose and alive, as if guided by a current only he could feel. The atmosphere had changed. The gentle warmth of mentorship remained, but layered beneath it was a sharper edge, an invitation to rise, to struggle, to grow. Aaron steadied himself. He knew this part of the session, the moment when the soft guidance gave way to pressure. Bruce believed deeply that stress, controlled, intelligent stress, revealed truths people hid from themselves. Don't wait for me, Bruce said, eyes fixed on Aaron's posture. If you wait, you surrender timing. I want you to intercept. Aaron nodded, lifted his guard, and watched Bruce's chest, remembering the lesson. The center reveals intention more reliably than the hands or feet, but anticipation created its own tension. He could feel his shoulders creeping up, his breathing tightening. Bruce noticed at once. Relax your breath, he said softly. Control comes from calmness. Aaron inhaled, exhaled, and then Bruce moved. It wasn't dramatic. It was almost gentle, a subtle forward step and a slight shift of the torso. But to Aaron, it felt like a sudden wave surging in his direction. Instinctively, he fired the intercepting jab Bruce had been drilling into him. The strike shot forward, not perfect, but faster than his earlier attempts. Bruce slipped it effortlessly, rotating his head by just a few centimeters. Good, he said mid-motion, but you're still chasing me. Aaron didn't have time to answer. Bruce's counter flicked toward him with the speed of a spark leaping from a wire. It stopped just short of his jaw, close enough that he felt the ghost of its power. If I hadn't stopped that, Bruce said calmly, you would be asleep on the grass right now. The remark wasn't meant to frighten him. It was to ground him, to remind him how small the margin for error truly was. Aaron reset, frustration simmering beneath the surface. Bruce saw it instantly. He always did. His eyes softened and he stepped back. You're thinking of techniques as points on a checklist, Bruce said. Technique is not the goal. Expression is the goal. The technique is simply the tool. He tapped his temple. If your mind hesitates, your tools stay in their box. Then, without warning, he pressed forward again. This time, Aaron reacted with more instinct than thought. He stepped slightly off the line, barely avoiding Bruce's lead strike. His counter came a fraction of a second later. A forward step and a straight punch aimed toward Bruce's chest. Not perfect, but fast, natural, unforced. Bruce smirked, not mocking, but pleased. Better, he said. Now again. What followed was a dance of pressure and release. Bruce advanced. Aaron responded. Bruce attacked high, and Aaron tried to intercept. When Bruce pivoted, Aaron attempted to read the motion. For every success, there were two failures, but the balance didn't matter. What mattered was the spark Bruce was trying to ignite. The capacity to act without the interference of fear or doubt. Bruce moved again. A feint this time, light and teasing, meant to lure Aaron's reaction. Aaron recognized it, almost too late, but adjusted his timing and kept his center solid. His jab snapped out, not quite intercepting, but close enough that Bruce couldn't ignore it. Bruce raised his eyebrows. There, now we're getting somewhere. He circled Aaron with feline smoothness. Do you feel the difference? When you stop trying to impress me, you begin to express yourself. Aaron exhaled sharply. He did feel it, the shift from performing to responding, but understanding wasn't mastery. Not yet. Bruce suddenly dashed forward again, closing the distance in a fraction of a second. Aaron fired another intercepting strike, but this time Bruce wasn't testing him. He was pushing him, pressing him, challenging his instinct against overwhelming speed. The sun was fading, casting long shadows over the yard as Bruce and Aaron stood side by side, breathing heavily but calm. Today's session had been more than punches, kicks, and footwork. It had been a lesson in awareness, adaptability, and trust in oneself. Aaron had stepped beyond imitation, beginning to find his own rhythm, his own voice and movement. Bruce watched him with that quiet, knowing smile. Teaching was never about showing off. It was about guiding, challenging, and inspiring others to discover their own potential. Every feint, every counter, every subtle shift of weight was a conversation. Between teacher and student, between effort and understanding, between discipline and expression. Behind the camera, Dan quietly captured it all. This footage would one day become a rare glimpse into the private world of a legend. But at that moment, it was personal, intimate, timeless, and alive. Bruce placed a hand on Aaron's shoulder. Remember this, he said. Clarity and strength come from within. Carry it with you, not just in fighting, but in life. Aaron nodded, feeling the weight of the lesson. The session had ended, but the impact would last forever. that is a true legacy of Bruce Lee, teaching, inspiring, and living fully in each moment.